Heckin' frick. Hello. Hello and welcome to the critique stream, wherein we critique your art, your writing, your soul. I've been watching a lot of Undertale. You know, we all know the scene with the long hallway, whether you've done bad or done good. It's like that. Me and Ursula, we are the sons of this equation. How is everyone doing? Hello, AZ. Nice to see you again. Send me to heaven or hell? Yes, that is what I am here for. If you also would like to go to heaven, give me money on my Patreon, and I will see if I can make that happen. How is everyone? We're good? We're good? I mean, AZ is here, so we can just pop off right now as fast as possible. Cause I'm down to do that. I left no preamble. I'm trying to make a good thingy. I don't know. Hello, Ashen Graves. Yeah. I'm having a good day. Woke up early, read my things, did a little refresh, and now I'm ready. And Ursula's also ready. Loving this energy, Bonesmeister. Thank you. I've been upgrading my energy levels. All is going well for me. I still, however, forgot to open your goddamn writing so that I can reference it, because I always do that. Because I'm not Ursula. I forget things. Ursula's perfect. I am imperfect and mortal. I'm working on my thesis, so this will be nice in the background. Awesome. Slay, thank you, Triple D. Right, okay, so I'm just gonna start with AZ because you're here. So yeah, I read what you wrote. It started with the two versions of the one scene. And I liked them both. I actually ended up liking the first one a bit more. I think it was just maybe like more subtle and more focused. I think the second one could work. I think it just needed a little more like breathing space. There was just a lot more going on, whereas the first one was a lot more direct and easier to follow, like Rory's Rory? Yeah. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Okay, I was correct. Okay. It was easier to follow. Like I got a good sense. Oh no. Your internet disconnected. Um well, I was saying that I liked the first one more. Um okay, it might be a few seconds behind you. That's fine. I always assume y'all are kind of a few seconds behind me. Um It's actually weird seeing my little face in the corner because I'm a few seconds behind myself. Um, but yeah, like I just found that one a little more focused. There was a lot more going on in the second one. That I think could work, but yeah, it just the pacing is a bit, there's like it's a little too cluttered as it is now. But either way, they're like both good bases for a scene. Um, the following scene with Des returning home, I really liked that one. Even before like your note at the end about trying to bring out Dez's ADHD energy, I just felt it on a deep personal soul level. Um, Yeah, it was very good. I liked the interaction between them. Very funny. Um, also very sweet, and such a good setup. I didn't have much, if any, complaints about that one. I just thought it was very good. Um, the scene on the farm. What was that one? Oh, this is before the rearranging stuff. Oh yeah. Good. I got the ADHD energy down. Very much so. I immediately saw myself in that image. Actually, no, I saw Ursula in that image. Let's be real. I'm not as bad with the sleeping in and scrambling out the door at the last minute.
Didn't know it was about me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's the truth. But yeah, the farm scene. Some reason. Oh yeah, I like this one like as a continuation, a continuing build of the tension and like a um what is it? Like a reflective scene of the previous that they shared. I think it might need to be fleshed out, but like that comes with like I think the reason that like the fleshed out thing sticks out is just because we that you haven't decided like which opening scene, and this is like the sequel to that scene, so um it's hard to tell if it works because there's two possible ways that we got here. um I do think it is like a good scene to have though. um and then the last one, um yeah, I also wasn't really sure what to make of this one because like you said, like the events change. You want to maybe change the events leading up to this, um because yeah, right now it is confusing where it fits because um obviously Gil is going to Sarah's in this. um I did like it though, um without that context. um yeah, I liked the interaction. Dez is just one of those guys. He can be just chatting with anyone. Couldn't be me. um this is a particularly chaotic chapter because I've been recovering from top surgery this month. I mean, it's pretty good for recovering from top surgery writing. um it's the sound of my what is it? It's not a microphone. It's a mouse. Yes, my mouse wheel up and down. Yeah. Do you have any questions, concerns, comments? Um. Uh. No sins. Crawling on your back. I don't think. Yeah. Okay. We're just gonna leave it 10 seconds. Anyone in the audience, um, you guys are cool. um, yeah, I'm gonna close this. That's the similar vibes I feel about it. I'm glad just during the scene because I'm trying to bring out more energy. Yeah, you're getting his energy. He's got energy. I'm autistic but not ADHD, so I'm working to work on that energy. Okay. Yeah, no, I can see it. Thank you, thank you. All right, Ursula, you're up. I'm free.
Hello? Oh,
Don't be weird,
Miko. Hello, hello, hello. Oh heck, there's bops going on. Oh, I got little hearts. Hello. All right. Now, let me see.
Watch out that every dog is under your wheels right now.
Dogs, why?
Beto especially.
Oh, okay. So, who would like to go first? I like your sweater. Thanks, AZ. Thank you, thank you.
I'm Ursula.
A secret bone.
I'm the Ursula.
Hi, Bones. Yeah, who would like to go first? So we have Ink and Pigment who are away, I believe. So we could look at their stuff last. But if Kuroe or Starstia are here, could go over your stuff if you're interested. If not, I'll just pick at random. Right. So unless I see a message, I'm just gonna go in the order that I have on my browser. So we'll start with Kuro. Okay. So let me see. What did you say? Okay. So this first one we're looking at. This is a digital painting practice, a critique on anatomy, color, and the painting. Okay, I can do that. Okay, so color-wise, you've got some very good like color contrast going on. We've got you know, these nice bright yellows that are high contrast with all the cool colors in the background. Good contrast with the I guess there's no purples, but like, you know, the blues are kind of counteracting with the warmth of the yellows. I also love the side note, I love the writing on the bottom of the snowboard that says study painting. Love that brand. Yeah, but great contrast going on. You've also got a lot of really good contrast between all the white of the snow and then the nice dark sky. And you've, even though you're using like a very saturated yellow, there's still, like, you didn't go too bright with it. You didn't go too light and desaturated with it. So there's still good contrast between the white snow and then the main figure of the snowboarder. There's even great contrast that you've got going on with like the snowboarder is wearing white pants, but you're using enough like dark shadow to differentiate between like the white background and everything. So yeah, really good contrast work. Compositionally, there's a lot of great overlap, which gives it a lot of depth. Where it's like very just clear in the scene. There's lots of like elements going around, like the snowflakes and like the cloud of powder or snow or mist or whatever it is going around the snowboarder that kind of like almost like frames him. Yeah, great overlap with like the figure. of the snowboarder. Yeah, compositionally looking good. Brings you in and around. Anatomy and the painting. Anatomy, I would say I think things are like a little bit wonky. I'd say like, okay, so it feels very structured. Like it's like all the different portions of the snowboarder feel very like solid, and there's no like huge, I don't know, anatomical errors I can see. And I think you've done a very good job with like the overlap and the posing. There's a couple things like I find like the hands are very big compared to like the rest of the body. And I think there's like a little bit of an issue with the legs where there's just something about this knee that feels like a little bit too pointy. I feel like there'd be a bit more kind of like I'm not even sure. Like I feel like there'd just be like a bit more leg kind of up here. Instead of the knee being pointy, it would be a bit more like structured out with like the kneecap and the muscle and stuff up top. But yeah, but the head feels attached correctly. The arms feel attached correctly. Like I understand that there's gonna be some kind of like tone to the body that's like missing because they're wearing like a big outfit. But yeah. But yeah. But I think that, yeah, what is probably throwing it off is just the hands feel very, very large. And I think there would be a bit more overlap with the mitten over top of like the sleeve here, if that makes sense. Like it would curve over top of it instead of being below it. And I think that would help with like the perspective on that particular arm. But yeah, overall, I think it looks good. Just like a couple little tweaks you could make. And then as for like the painting, the kind of painterliness to it, I think you did a good job with like building up the forms and using like you've got good highlights going on where you've got this like edge lighting, lots of like kind of blending from your different like shadows into midtones and highlights, and like using very visible brush strokes, which creates like a lot of good texture, but it's not like, I don't know, you still have very solid forms. Yeah, and I like that you're relying on your contrast to really like show the edge of your forms instead of relying on like an outline, for example. Instead of, yeah, using your line work to differentiate like different shadows and pieces, you're using just like contrast, which is great. I think I think there's some places where like the painting could be cleaned up a little bit, like there's quite a bit of brushwork on this like front leg here that could be just like smoothed out a little bit, like blended a bit more, and then same on this like forearm here that's like bending forward. It just feels a little bit messy. So I think like you've got a good start with like the painterliness of it, and I wouldn't want to like lose the texture and brush strokes, but like I think there's some places where it could be blended in a little bit better, so that it feels a bit more like intentional, if that makes sense. But overall, yeah, I really like it. You did a good job with like bringing in different tones and good contrast and all that stuff. That really matters. So yeah, I think it's a good job. Okay, so the next piece is a character design. So it's a comic style and idea. So you want to critique on her design and if the color style suits her and the story. So the basic story is she's kidnapped. The kidnappers are attacked and killed. A hired knight. The kidnapper hired. Okay, so the knight fights back against the kidnappers even though the knight was hired by them. And then the princess hires the knight and then they fall in love and are lesbians together. Okay, I love it. 10 out of 10. I would say, okay, so then this would be the coloring style for the comic, and you want to know if it's like suits the character. Okay, so the vibe I get from this character is like she seems very like bright and sunny, for like lack of a better word. Like she's all gold and like sunshine. Clearly, like from the outfit change where she's got like the open midriff and stuff, I feel like she's like a very kind of flirty, energetic kind of character. And even though she's going through this like kidnapping story, I feel like she'd be very like chipper and funny about it. Like, I don't know, maybe annoy the kidnappers or fight back or something. Like she seems like feisty and cheerful and fun. And I know like your style of comics, you like to put a lot of comedy in, so I feel like it would be very lighthearted kidnapping. Though there is death, but you know, can still be a funny story. But yeah, she just gives like spicy sun vibes. I hope that makes sense. Let me see. As for the coloring, so you're using like a lot of texture, you're using like a very thin outline. And then some very minimal shading. I would say with her, I'd be careful about contrast. There's some places where like I think because you've used some like kind of darker shadows under like the chin and in the ear and stuff, and then in this like other drawing there's like some shadow work going on just by using like ink. I would recommend like maybe leaning into that, especially around her face. I find like there's a lot of contrast missing. Like her hair is very similar in tone to like her skin and her eyes, and like it's hard because clearly like her whole design is supposed to be very like gold and yellow. But yeah, but it just kind of disappears in her face. I find in her outfit, because you've got like the kind of white underclothes and then the gold and then like a darker trim on the like the vest and the cloak and stuff, there's more contrast going on in the rest of her design, but in the face it's very like same tone, not much contrast between the colors. So you could lean into using like ink for shadow. You could shift the colors around, so you're using some like darker golds here and there. Yeah, you'd have to play around and see what works for the character, but yeah, just something there to kind of help differentiate. And honestly, even in like the trim of the gold, I would darken it to maybe like a darker brown. Yeah, just to get the contrast up. But yeah, but her design overall is very cohesive. I love the little rosettes going on, obviously because it's like Belle Rose. Yeah, the rosettes are fun. Her hair even has kind of like a rosette kind of shape to it. Yeah, there's lots of like cohesive kind of motifs going through, where you've got like some rectangles going on in the cloak, but there's also like triangles through the vest. And then same with the boots, the same kind of like shape motifs going on. And I like even when she's like out of the full formal clothes, it's still very much like her. if that makes sense. Like it follows the same kind of like vibe, even if she's missing some of the bigger elements of the outfit. Yeah. So yeah, I would just work on that contrast issue, and then hopefully I got the vibes right. You can let me know when you watch this later. I also, so there's like a little lesbian flag up in the corner. When I was glancing at it earlier, I thought it was like her country's flag. Because she's like a princess of a country, right? And I was like, what flag is that? Where's the lesbian flag? Hi, little sketch. Welcome to the stream. All right. So the last one is a background concept for the Serpent's Nuzzle. Ooh. It's an abandoned building by a river. A sea serpent lives in it, and you want a general critique on it. Okay. Cool. Does the sea serpent live in the building or the river? I'm assuming the river. Okay, first off, I love the colors in this. This is just like a personal choice. Like, I love this vibe. I love the little lilac sunset and then all the cool stuff in the foreground. That's just like a good color theory thing. I've talked about it before, but if you have warm light coming in, the shadows will be cool. And vice versa. If you have cold light coming in, the shadows will be warm. So yeah, I really like what you've done where you've used like these very soft, warm colors for the sky, and then you're using these cooler colors in the shadows and on the land in the foreground. So good color theory work. But it also helps because it's like a river and like there's a sea serpent and stuff. So it, it makes sense you'd use a lot of blue. So that was just very good color choice there. I like that you've kind of added, there's a lot of like depth going on in this. It's just a concept sketch, but it'll help in the final work, right? But I like how you've added lots of depth where we can see like there's some, is it deciduous or coniferous? I think coniferous trees. Some pine trees up here in the front. We can see the river. I like how you've used this kind of like off yellowy green for the grass as well, where it kind of like fits in with the yellow in the sky, but still is cool. So yeah, anyways, good color stuff. And then we see the building, and then we also see there's like mountains, and it looks like skyscrapers in the background. Like it brings a lot of intrigue to the setting as well, where I'm like, because the way you describe it, where it's like it's an abandoned building, there's a sea serpent, my brain goes like traditional fantasy, but then there's like skyscrapers, which is cool. I'm intrigued by this setting. I'm like, why was this building abandoned? And I like how I'd be curious to see more detailed versions of it, but I like the kind of texture you've added in on the building where there's like clearly some of the walls have collapsed. There's like broken windows. I like this little tower at the top. Yeah, it's an interesting setting. I feel like it could be a cool set piece within the story. The one thing I would say is just to, for the final kind of design stuff, in the actual story, I think the perspective is a little bit off. The river feels like it's tilting kind of down ways. When if it's coming toward the camera like this, it would be very kind of straight, like right where the camera eye level is. But it's very tilty, and it feels like it's flowing like down a hill this way, and I'm not sure if that's what you're going for, but it just feels tilted where it should be more kind of like straight on. And I would be curious about a bit more foreground work, kind of like in the bottom left corner here, just to fill it out a little bit more, or bringing in more kind of like visual interest on the water. But I do love the like shiny kind of reflection stuff you've brought in. That's really nice on the water. Yeah, I think that would be the only thing I'd say is like I'd love to see more detail on the building, some of the perspective straightened out, and also possibly some of this like where the river meets the sky and the horizon and stuff. It's a little bit messy back here, but again, it's a concept sketch, so I'm sure the final will be different. But yeah, great color, great kind of design ideas going on here. Yeah, I'm in love with the colors you use for the sunset. That's so pretty. I also love, I'm not sure, I don't know, I love the triangles in the skyscrapers. It creates just like an interesting like stylization that kind of fits with like the birds in the sky. It's interesting. I don't know if that was intentional, but I like it. Lean into it. Or don't. Live your life. Hi, Top Tomato. And hello, Ashen Graves. How does one go about submitting work for the critique? So to get into the critique, it's run through our Patreon. So there should be a link in the description. So if you sign up and submit your stuff, we won't be able to look at it this month, but we will be able to next month. So we do these monthly, and yeah, we can look at comic pages, concept work, designs, Bones reads like scripts and like prose as well. Yeah, we can look at pretty much anything. Yeah. Okay, so that was Coral. No, it's answered. Yay! Good. Glad they could answer. Okay, so I don't know if Starstia is here, but I will critique your work, and if you are here, please let me know if you have any questions. And Kuro, let me know in the Discord if you have questions when you see this. Okay, so the first portrait by Star is a portrait of a scarred drow wizard. Drew this for practice animating. Ooh. While I'm proud of it, it looks less finished than I'd hoped. What could I do to add extra polish? Oh, interesting. Okay, so to start off, there's lots of places in here that I love. Like, I love what you've done with the lips, where you've got just really great work with the light going on here. I love how there's like the reflection on the bottom lip and then the shadow, and there's like a little bit of like reflected light on the top lip. It just creates like really good structure to it. It's really pretty. Same with like the gloss in the eyes. There's lots of good like tonal shifts throughout, where you've got like some of the red blush and then some of the there's some warm light coming in with some highlights and stuff, and then the different kind of like color shifts of the gray on the skin. Like, it's just really nice. I also love a lot of the detail in the hair. That's really gorgeous. Like, lots of really nice texture going on. The thing I would say... So I'd be curious to know, like, what you mean by, like, it doesn't feel polished enough. Because it's like, is it feeling too sketchy? Is that what you mean by, like, it not feeling polished? Because I think there's some places where, yeah, I'd say some of the brushwork is a bit more kind of loose as compared to, like, because I think where you put, like, the most detail in would be the face. Where it, like, clearly you've gone in, you've done a lot of rendering and stuff. Whereas, like, the hair, there's places where it does feel very polished, but places where some of the strands you've put in feel like a little bit sketchy, and I'd say, like, kind of around the shoulder area also feels like a little less detail was put in there, which makes sense because when you're doing a portrait, like, you want the focus to be on the face, so that's where most of the detail goes. But I would also say there's some contrast issues going on through, like, the different pieces. So I think where you've got the best contrast going on would be in the face, where you've got some, like, really nice dark shadows going on. You've got some really nice highlights as well. Whereas, like, on the hands, I find just with the colors you've used on the hands and then the colors used like in the torso where they're overlapping, it's very like it's lacking contrast. It's very much the same value. It also gets very lost where like the hands overlap the skin because it's like the same colors, right? It's both skin. Where I think more shadow was needed kind of behind the hands, or more shadow kind of brought into the hands, or more highlights, just to help differentiate them a little bit, because I find they kind of meld together. Yeah, and I think with the torso, with like making it more, or I guess the shoulder area, making it more finished, I think like you're lacking a lot of the same kind of like shadow and highlight work you were doing. There's some shadow in here, don't get me wrong. Because even on this like little metal clasp, you've got some nice highlights and shadows going on, but in the fabric, like this shoulder on the right, like doesn't have any shading or highlighting on it. It looks very just like roughed in. So bringing that in would probably help make it feel more finished. Like adding shadows under the hair where it's overlapping on the shoulders and torso. That kind of thing. Yeah, and even though like you've got some really great rendering work on the face, I think there's some places you could again add in a bit more contrast, because I love like the reflection on the lips like I was saying, but I find the top lip is blending in with the like space above the lip a little bit, and I think just using a bit more shadow in here somewhere would really help kind of differentiate, even if they're the same like color. Like the lips don't have to be like a different color than the skin, but just a bit of differentiation there so it doesn't feel like as kind of merged. Yeah, but I'd love to see like some contact shadow here where the collar kind of meets like the skin. It would probably be like a very similar as to where like the chin is shadowed. Yeah, I think there's some like little kind of perspective anatomical things that are going on as well. I'm finding it could also be a shading thing. I'm finding the neck is a bit strange. Like it's the right, oh, maybe it's not the neck, maybe it's the shoulders. Like the shoulders feel very small compared to like the size of the head. And the neck feels thick to me, but I think what's happening is like you've got this very like dark kind of contact shadow like right under the chin to really differentiate it, which is great. But then I find like the rest of the neck doesn't have the same kind of treatment. So it gets a little bit lost, and I think that makes it feel weird. And then the shoulders feel small, so it makes the head and neck feel big. And I'm noticing this eye on the left feels a little bit small considering how forward facing like the nose and mouth are, where I think it needs to be just like made a little bit bigger. My brain wanted to say biggened. It needs to be made a little bit larger and kind of aligned, maybe closer to the center of the face, kind of like align it with this eye. And I think there's a similar issue with this ear where I feel like it would be down a little bit more. And I'm also finding the braids aren't like sitting on the same place on the crown of the head, where these feel like they're being pulled out quite a bit because like they're aligning with the top of this ear. But these braids are like, they look like they're further up on the head because they should be aligning with the ear. They should be like right here, if that makes sense. So depending on what you want to do, you could like bring this braid up. It would be tighter to the skull, and we'd see this kind of like here where you have this wave of hair coming out from under the braid, it would be the same here. Or vice versa. You move this braid out and then you'd follow the shape of this side, etc. Where yeah, they just feel a little bit uneven. And I think it maybe is making the head feel a little bit lopsided, where I think you need to bring out the kind of the back of the skull a little bit here behind the ear. Yeah, so I think, yeah, if you were going to go further with this, I would recommend kind of going through things and just making sure you're really focusing on your highlights and your shadows and your contrast. And then if you wanted to, I'm not sure with the hair. I think there's some blending that could be done. Again, I think it might be going in with like the shadows and highlights and stuff. But yeah, let me know. I'd be curious if this answers your questions. Yeah, because I'm curious what unpolished feels like for you. Yeah, let me know. Let me know if you have questions, Star. So the next one, I know this character. So it is Dedu. Anyway, second piece is a fan art of a grumpy man petting a cat. For the life of me, I cannot get the cat to look right, mostly due to the struggling with anatomy. Please save me. So I think for the most part, the cat is very well structured. I think you've got a good understanding of like the anatomy of the cat. Because like the back legs are attaching well, same with the front legs. I like the placement of the paws. The face is super duper cute. I think what might be getting you is I think the torso is a little bit squished. So the, and I think it's because like you're doing the thing where the cat is like arching its back. Where I think, hi bright side. I think, yeah, where I think it's skewing it a little bit. So the hind legs are like a little bit too close to the front legs. So I'd move them back a little bit, maybe put more arch into the cat's back, and then add some more like arch into the stomach as well to follow that. Because it's hard. Cats are very soupy. They're made of liquid, so they can be difficult to figure out. Because of that, where they can like condense and squish and stuff. But yeah, I think it really is just like the hind legs are too close to the front legs. So moving them back and heightening the arch, I think will really help. The head might also be a bit small. But I you'd have to see how it feels after you like change the body, because sometimes that can like throw it off. As for the character, I like the lighting situation going on, where it seems like there's like a light kind of like right in the center that's like shining on the face and the cat and stuff, like kind of shining out from the center. It's really interesting. And you've got a lot of cool work going on with the shadows. Like I love the folds in the shoulder pleats. Just really good contrast, and like really using the light and shadow to like fill out the to fill out like the volume of the shape. Is that Fire Emblem fan art? It is. Yeah, and then same here. I love what you've done on this sleeve here, where we've got like this really nice highlight, and then using the highlights to kind of show some of the folds in the clothing. Like really great work with that. I think some of the shading on his face feels a little bit, I think it just needs to be smoothed out a little bit. There's lots of like, it feels just on different planes of the face, like the forehead and the cheeks, I'm mostly noticing it, where it would be a bit more flat. I think some of the shadow is creating like bumps and wrinkles that wouldn't be there. But I do love the amount of shadow that you're using. Like I love how you've got this like really stark like framing of his face because of the shadow and the highlight, and really great shading on like the eyes and the nose and mouth and stuff. Like that's all really great. And the only other thing is, again, I think there's some pieces that feel a little bit mismatched in size. Like this arm that's petting the cat feels like, I understand there's some foreshortening going on with like perspective wise, but it feels very much like he's missing like an upper arm. It feels like from the size of the hand, which I think might be a bit smaller, even though he's like a big dude. It feels like his elbow is like up here, where there should be more upper arm. That would probably be like, his elbow would probably be resting on the knee, and then we'd have the forearm reaching down to pet the cat. So I think that would need to be shifted around. And then, yeah, this leg that's resting, like I know it's like leaned back a little bit because he'd have the elbow resting on it, but it feels very like stunted and shortened, where it should be coming out a little bit more, and kind of match the same size as this like front leg, if that makes sense. I think his shoulders might also be a bit small. That might also be where some of the errors are kind of stemming from. I'd make them a little bit wider and kind of mess around with the placement of this arm and this leg. I think this side works well. I would still broaden the shoulder, but overall I think this side works really well. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know. And then finally, last piece of artwork I drew to practice animating. Ignore the fact that the irises pop out from his eyes. He was made for a rig. Okay. I like how polished he looks, but he looks very soulless. Any tips? He looks very cute when animated. I don't think he looks soulless to me. It might be just like the expression, like he doesn't have an expression because he's being like rigged to like express and stuff via animation. So it could be just that he has like a very neutral face. Yeah, I'd be curious if it would help to see like more kind of expression work being done, like showing different like I don't know, showing him happy and smiling, or showing him like looking sad or worried, or like looking around and stuff. It might help with like kind of that soulless feeling you're getting from it. Yeah. Yeah, I really like the contrast is done really well in this one. Again, I really like your use of like highlight and shadow. I love it on this neck scarf piece. Like you're doing a really good job with like having the highlights and shadows kind of intermingle and really show like the shape of this. And I like how consistent all of the highlights and shadows are. Like on the hair, on the arms. I love how you've got like a little bit of a gradient going on the arm, where you've got like a solid highlight and then some gradient and then like a little bit of gradient on the shadow. It's just nice. It's good. It's good vibes. Yeah, it adds a lot of depth and I like it and it's good. And there's good contrast between the shadows and highlights and stuff. There are parts that feel a little bit flat, so it might be, again, for animation's sake. His nose and, like his little snoot feel very, very flat, especially compared to, like, all the nice shading and stuff going on around it, where, like, we'd probably see some more shadow kind of, like, above the nose, kind of around the edges of the snout to kind of show, like, the 3D-ness of it. So that could be a big part of it as well. And then same with like shading underneath the eyebrows. Like there'd be a bit of differentiation kind of under the eyebrow. with shadows and stuff. Color-wise, everything looks good. Like, it's very warm, but there's good contrast. Yeah, it's super cute. Yeah, I'm not sure. Hopefully this answers your question, Star, and I'm not just, like, confusing you. Yeah, let me know. Let me know on the Discord. All right. So then we have Pigment, who I believe is not here as well, because of some shift changes. Okay, but here is my submission. Some character designs that are being used in a D&D campaign, and one is a redesign and to be used for a future comic. General critique as well as anatomy for Cyrene and Violetta. So first is pronounced Serene. So it's spelled with some Y's, so it's like Syryne, but it's pronounced Serene. Okay. A blue jay harpy. Oh, adorable. Okay. So you're looking for anatomy and general stuff. Okay. So Serene, I get like a very kind of like, despite being named Serene, I'm getting like a... Okay, and it might also be from what I know about blue jays, where they're very trickstery. They're corvids, and they like to mess with other birds, and they can be kind of mean sometimes, and I just get trickster vibes from them. But yeah, but Serene looks very energetic. There's like a bit of a cheekiness to her. So that's the character vibe I kind of get. I love the colors used, like really bringing in the blue jay color scheme, where you've got these like nice vibrant blues coming through. I love like the pattern you've got from the feathers, where like there's the little striping, I guess. I don't know if you'd call it striping, but you know, the white and black through it. We love some little wing ears, adorable. And I love the costume. I love all the little like ornaments on the little like embroidery and stuff like on the different pieces, and like I also really like the cut of the shirt. It works very well for someone with wings. And just like the consistency of like the different designs, where you've got this kind of like braid design, and you've got it on the leg as well as like on the midriff piece. And yeah, great color consistency. I like how everything is like has the blue and the white and gray and stuff, and then you're doing these little pops of yellow for contrast. That's really nice. Yeah, just really, really cool. I really like the costume a lot. It feels very like practical, but also has some really interesting like design through it. I love the shape of the legs. Like it's so like harpy and so bird-like. But yeah, some great shapes kind of going through with that. The one thing I would say, there's some contrast issue going in the face, just between this like shade of blue and the skin tone, where they're very like similar value-wise. So like a lot is being lost. I don't know if it could be fixed by like bringing in like, I don't know, a yellow headband or something to kind of differentiate the hair and the skin. Or doing some contrast work, like maybe brightening up the hair or something. But yeah, I'm finding the face is getting a little bit lost when you have like these pops of like white feathers and then the yellow, and then it's very like dark up top. So that's just something to keep in mind. But anatomy-wise, I think everything looks good. Like, obviously the legs are very exaggerated and long because they're very, like... It's like a harpy. If you wanted to, you could maybe, like, make the kind of shin piece... I guess that's, like, their ankle. Because that would be the knee. And that would be the ankle. And this would be kind of like the foot if it's kind of like a digigrade thing, but... You maybe want to shorten that, but you don't have to because it's like a fantasy creature. So that would be up to you, but I don't see any big anatomical errors or anything that really stands out. I think like they're structured very well. Headband would look nice. Hell yeah. Totally. Like I'd love to see these like patterns kind of brought into like a headpiece, like a headband or a hat or something. I don't know. It'd be so cool. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, everything looks solid. Great dynamicness to the posing, great colors, great design motifs. I love it. So the next one, so this is another D&D character. So this is Violetta, a player character who got teleported to a different realm with the party, and due to a backstory reason, they transformed into this. Okay. She's a mermaid. I drew a lot of inspo from beta fish. Oh my god, I love beta fish. The wing detail on the head is so cool, right? It's so cool. I love that. Anyways, we love a beta fish mermaid. She is so cute. 10 out of 10. Okay, so the vibes I'm getting, they seem like a very like fun-loving character. Like very maybe easygoing and fun. That's the vibe I get. It might just be the using the fins for the ears, but I get like axolotl vibes as well. Like I can definitely see the inspiration for beta fish from the like the fins on the tail and like on the arms. Like that is such like beta fish shape to it, and I think you captured that really well. But I think like it could also just be like axolotls are a bit more like anthropomorphized, I guess. I don't exactly know, but you know. Yeah, I'm getting some axolotl vibes as well. But that could just be like because it's, you know, she's a mermaid, but she has like legs and features and stuff. It's not just like a fishtail. Yeah. But anyways, I love the color. Great contrast between like the yellows and the pinks, obviously. Or the purples. I mean, it's pink, but it's purpley. And anyways, it contrasts well with the yellow. And I especially love it on the clothing, the skirt here, how it's nice and bright, but it still like matches with the fins. But the fins are like a little bit darker. It just creates good contrast. I think some of it is being lost in the hair, where you've got all these like really bright saturated colors and then the hair is very desaturated. I think you could still use brown hair because it would match in with like this kind of reddish pink color, because you could take that and shift it to like a brown color, right? But I think you need to bring in some more saturation or some more red or purple into the hair. It just feels very like discordant with like everything else going on color wise. I also wonder if you could take, because I love the curls, don't get me wrong, and I love the shape, but I'm wondering, I feel like so much of the design is very, not rectangular, but it's got these kind of like straight line rectangular-ish shapes throughout, with the exception of, I guess, like the scale dots. And then the hair has these very like curved, like you know, like these very like bubbly curves through it. I wonder if you could take the curls and make them a bit more like rectangular shaped. Like I'm thinking more, not ringlets per se, but that more kind of like rectangular ringlet look. Something like that, just to kind of mesh the hair in with the rest of the design. Alternatively, you could bring in more of these kind of like wavy round curls shapes like throughout. Love fish sea monster characters. Hell yeah. Right? I love the clothing. I love how it matches the fins. That's so good. Yeah, so I think that would be it. Anatomy wise, so overall everything is very structured and very what's the word? Consistent? Proportional. Everything is very proportionate. The only thing I would say is this left foot that's like facing the camera feels a little flat and floaty. So like this foot here, it does feel a bit thin, but again, that could be like a sea creature thing. Where it depends on what you want to do. I feel like a heel is kind of missing and it would go down a little bit further. But anyways, but it does feel like placed on the ground and makes sense. Where here, I feel like a lot of the, I feel like the bottom of the foot and the toes aren't aligning with like the ground. They feel like kind of lifted up, if that makes sense. I'd make them more straight. And we're missing some of the kind of structure of like the top of the foot here. It feels just very flat and squished. So that would be the only thing that really stands out to me. Just fixing the placement of that foot. Yeah. That's it. That's all. Let me know if you have any questions, Pigment. And then last we have Jira, which is a redesign of a character you've shown before here. Right, so I wanted to add more of the other elements into her design because she's meant to be the god of life and nature. Her skin is made of marble like stone. Ooh, that's so cool. Her hair is clouds. Blood is lava. Oh heck. The blood is lava. Her eyes are my only way to incorporate water. If you have ideas on where else I could add water, that'd be great. If you get stumped like I did, it's fine. And you've included her old design. Yes, I remember the old design. Because I know she has a sibling, which I think has like, it's like a snake motif or the dragon motif. I can't remember. But yeah, that's the old design where you had like plants in the hair and then like sunlight in the eyes kind of stuff. Right. Oh, I love the texture on the skin. That is super cool. Oh, and the cracks. That is so cool. I wonder, so I really do like the purple of the cracks. I wonder if you could bring in that like lava blood idea and maybe have them kind of like glowing gold or red, if that makes sense. It could be just like there's a plot reason where they're purple, but that would be cool. Yeah, and it would match with like the red and gold of her design. But I love the marble skin. That is so cool. And I like how like you've brought in some warmth into like the kind of gray of the marble, so it still like fits with her other colors. Right. And that, right, the hair is the clouds, the eyes are water. Okay. I love the snake. Look at this little dude. What a good little dude. 10 out of 10. Water. I could see it for the eyes. Like I think that's a good place for like the water to kind of incorporate. Right, because skin is the rock, blood is lava, hair is clouds. Yeah, because I mean, it depends on how the magic works in your thing, because it could be just like, yeah, like the water lives in her eyes, and like her tears are like life-giving water kind of thing. You could also do like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it depends on the magic system in the world and stuff, but you could do something like, it could be emotions based, it could be like, I don't know, time based, it could be like her hair rains when she's sad or something, like using that cloud kind of motif and could change color, like it could become thunderclouds. Or like water could come out through the cracks in the marble or something like that. Kind of like a spring. Yeah, or you could do like her heart is full of fire, her mind is full of like life-giving water. I don't know, something like that. It depends on the world and the story and stuff. But yeah, I think there's some interesting stuff you could do with that. The eyes do work, because that could be, and again, it depends on how it's like revealed through your story. Because you could even have different body parts be different elements as well. Because like maybe one arm could be fire and one arm could be water, kind of thing. It depends. Depends on what you want, right? But anyways, I might also be stumped like you were. Maybe this helps kind of spur on some ideas. Right. But yeah, but I love the way you've incorporated the different elements. It is so cool. Let's see. Has the costume changed? A little bit, yeah. She's wearing more... Yeah, same kind of pattern with that like rosette kind of flower pattern. It's cool because it's definitely flowers, but it also looks like fire. It's very cool. And I love the jewelry. And I love the pattern. And it's just so cool. But yeah, there's a lot of cool kind of echoes, like with the braids and then the kind of braiding on the leg wraps. And then the coil of like the snake, as well as like the scarf around her waist. And I really like how you're showing off the marble by showing off her arms and her stomach and stuff. The one thing I would say, because I like how you're using these kind of like textured cloud fluffs for like the bun at the top and then the ends of the braids, I would recommend bringing in like, it could be like a really kind of textured sketchy outline, but using the same one as the hair just so that it doesn't get lost and feel like it's not attached to her. But yeah, that same kind of like bluey silver outline to the hair. But yeah, super cool. Right, you were asking about anatomy and general stuff. Anatomy-wise, everything looks really good, I gotta say. Her legs look very thick compared to like, well, I mean, she looks like a more kind of muscled, thick character, but her legs do feel very big, but that could be a stylistic choice, which I'm totally fine with. I think it suits her character very well. That would be the only thing, I would say. But yeah, this looks fantastic. Hello, Rose Bubblegum. Welcome. Yeah, this is so cool. I love the dynamicness of like the chain. That's so cool. And I love the snake. 10 out of 10. Best character. She bottom heavy in a good way. Exactly. We stan. Yes. All right. Pigment, let me know if you have questions when you see this. So finally, we have ink. My friendo. Okay. Oh, hey, Andy. Welcome. All right. So Ink had a bunch of pages that he submitted. Okay. So, all right. It is your first time submitting a long form submission. Cool. Okay. So it's from the comic you're working on. It's fairly early stages in the early scenes. Looking for feedback on the paneling, the text size, and placement. In particular, does the action sequence feel actiony? And any tips on drawing a character with curly hair and lots of little details and keeping that consistent? Right, and then he said he'd be away. Okay, so I'll start with paneling. So there's lots of places where I think you did really great work with the paneling, where it feels very... Like, I feel like you're changing things up and using... very, like, making sure you have very focused panels and stuff. And, like, I feel like you're framing the action well within your panels. Like, it feels like there's a use for each of your panels, if that makes sense. Or it's not, I didn't really see anything super, like, superfluous. It all felt necessary and like you were showing, like, what you needed to show. Like you're doing close-ups on like emotion. You're showing like when there's like an important set piece or an important, like, I know they find like a a body at some point. Like you frame everything well, where it feels like what needs to be shown is shown. If that makes sense. Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any like useless panels. I will say paneling wise though, it's very like this may sound contradictory, but it feels like it's the same stuff over and over again, I would say. And I don't mean like the content of the panel. Like the content of the panel is good, but I think like the way it's displayed feels very similar each time. And it feels like it's a lot of like head-on, like straight from the front shots where we're just seeing them like face on, or we're seeing them like from the side. And it feels very repetitive that way, where like it's a lot of the same kind of close up on a character's face. And then, and there are places where you do like full body shots of characters. Some of my favorite pages are when you're using, like this, exactly this, like where you're showing like an establishing shot of like a city or a room. And I can see like the perspective going in, where it just creates like a bit more depth, more like cinematicness, I guess, to it, where it feels very like intentional. Where I find when it's a lot of just like back and forth, straight on showing the characters from the front, it feels very flat, and I think it's missing some of the emotion that could be brought in. So I'd love to see more playing around with like different angles. Like I could see here on this page, the top one, you're showing the character from the camera's looking up at her. And I'd love to see that pushed more and brought in more throughout, instead of a lot of like the same kind of back and forth like angles on characters. Like play around with putting your camera up high or low. Like if a camera is up high, it can make the characters feel small. You can also use it just to show like the scene better too. If you're like, I need to show what this room looks like, instead of doing like a flat shot, you could show it from above or from below. I'd recommend kind of messing around with your camera angles. But like I said, the content of the panels is good. It's just like the execution of showing what's in those panels, I think, needs more variance to it. And I would say I also like the literal shape of your panels. Like you're messing around with things where it's like using small panels and wide panels, and like your layouts page to page change up quite a bit, which is great to see, and keep that up. As for the typography and the I guess there's some thought bubbles, but like the speech bubbles. So there's places where I think you do really well, and there's some places where I think like it just needs like a minor tweak. So like this page that I'm looking at here, for example, like this top one here where it says, "Let me see that," like it works. Like the shape of the text, like if you drew an outline around like your letters, it fits the shape of the bubble, if that makes sense. Whereas here, where he's saying, but I've read through the codex, etc., it's very like wide at the top, and then it kind of gets smaller at the bottom. So the bottom is fitting into the shape of the speech bubble, where it's like it's got this round shape to the bottom of the lettering, but up here it's just straight flat, and it's like nearly touching the sides of your bubble. So I'd recommend going through, and same with here where it says like all monsters down there, etc. You know, down at the bottom it's fitting into the shape of the bubble, but up top it's very flat and like poking the sides of your bubble. So I'd go through and I'd shift some of these letters around, so you could put "but I've" at the top, and then play around with like the placement of the words, but make sure that if you drew a line around the very outside of your letters, it would fit the shape of your bubble. You kind of want to make like your text block look like a circle, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If you look through comics, you'll generally see that. And I'd recommend for some of these, just adding a bit more space. So like, for example, this bubble here where it says you'll attract something worse, the bubble is just very tight into the letters. Like you could make sure you have a good amount of padding. Oh, pardon me. I'm so sorry. Add a lot of padding around the lettering. So there's a good amount of space. So like, let's see if I can find one that was really great. I know there were some where it like fits super well. Yeah, like right here. Where, well, I hope the Fountain Knights didn't worship them. Like, you've got a good amount of space kind of around your letters. There's, like, padding. If you drew, like, if I filled in the space, like, between the line of the bubble and the text, like, there'd be a good amount of fill there, you know? Lots of negative space there. And that's what you want, so that you don't want your letters to be claustrophobic. You need to give them lots of breathing room. Like you don't want so much where it's like a huge bubble and then tiny little text in the center. Like that's too much. But you want a good amount of padding around the sides. So yeah, so I'd say this is a good standard because you've got your lettering where it's the text block is creating a circle, and then your bubble is shaped around the letters, and there's a good amount of padding around them. So yeah. That's the standard I want to see. And obviously not everything's perfect because you're still laying things out. It's still early, but yeah, that's what I'd recommend. And I think it depends. So this is a 6.5 by 9.5. I would honestly, I would bump up your text to be a little bit bigger. I'm not sure what size it is. This looks like a 10 point to me. I might bump it up to like a 12 point. I think the thing is, like, on your pages, you have enough room to bump up your text places. I like how it's all very consistent, though. I like how you've got the same font size throughout. But I would say you could bump it up probably 1 or 2 points to be bigger. Your speech bubbles would be bigger, and you could fill in a bit more space in your panels as well. Yeah, because it might be a little difficult to read. Like if I'm holding a 6 by 9, it might be difficult. So I'd recommend that. Making your text a little bit bigger. What other questions did you have? Text size and placement, paneling. Right, the action scene. So that was down here somewhere? Yes. Okay, so for the action scenes, there's some panels that I think are really effective. Like, I love a lot of the scenes you have where it's like looking at like the top of the ceiling where like the bugs are crawling around, or like looking down at them from below. And again, I think that's just because it's creating such like variance on the like the camera, the way it's moving. It just creates like a lot of visual interest that way. And with action, like if you want it to feel very actiony and dynamic, you want to have that like movement and dynamicness with the camera and the way your panels are framed. It's like a little simplistic, but a good kind of rule of thumb is to keep things on diagonals. Like, obviously it doesn't work every time. And like, there's a flow that needs to happen with your action where it needs to follow like typical comic flow. But keeping things on diagonals, like never showing something just like straight on, I guess not never, but you know, good rule of thumb, is just keep things on diagonals, keep things crisscrossing and overlapping. It just creates more dynamicness that way. I found in this action scene, a lot of it, like this top here, where it's like the bug is like pressing down on him, he's like holding it off with the sword. It feels flat just because we're seeing it from the side here. And I think if this was the only panel where that was happening, it would be fine, but there's lots of repeats of that where it's like showing things straight on, we're just seeing things from the side. It's difficult because it forces you to play around with like perspective and like showing your characters from different angles, but I would definitely play around with like placing your camera in more dynamic angles. Like for example, like this top panel where we're seeing like he's been jumped on by this bug, it's like pressing down on him, like showing, you could show it from like above where we're seeing like over the bug's shoulder, we could see like a glimpse of his face and him holding the blade and like struggling with it, where I think that would create a bit more dynamicness. It would also kind of lead the flow kind of down this way. Instead of having the bug's head like right in the center here, you could kind of show it in a 3-angle view and have it kind of coming in from the side here, or this way. It depends. Yeah, you kind of want the flow to like go down here. But anyways, and yeah, and I'd be careful with these pulled out shots. Sometimes they're necessary to show what is happening and where your character is, but here it feels like a bit of a comedy like sting where it's like very like close up, intense, and then we pull really, really far away and it's like, help! Where it feels kind of funny just because it's so like minimized in the center of the panel. Where I could understand if you were showing like his friend is like standing here in the foreground and like he's calling out to her, where we need that information to show the distance. But yeah, so I'd just be mindful of that. Yeah, and I think that's just how I felt throughout. A lot of it just felt like too small, and I think you're trying to get like the information. You're trying to show like where things are in the room and making sure you're not like missing anything because it's cropped in too close. But I think some places you really need to pull in more and get like a better view of things, if that makes sense, and fill in some of this negative space that's going on, because it just feels very empty right now.
I took a walk.
You went out?
You didn't notice?
No.
I left for like an hour.
Oh, I didn't know. I've just been chit-chatting.
And then I went and took a nap with Fado in my bed. We ate some potato chips together. He fell asleep.
Oh my god.
Yes, we've had a whole episode.
I know. What the heck? I've just been here. I knew you went upstairs, but I didn't realize you left the house. Oh my god.
You take too long on these. You give them too much for their money.
That's the sell. Pay a little, get a lot.
It's true.
Anyways, that's my feedback. Oh wait, sorry. One more question. You were wondering about characters with curly hair. I would say if you want to add more detail, I would go super heavy with detail and then try to pull back, and it'll look kind of goofy. But yeah, but just put in all the detail you want and then try and trim it back and still get the details you want. I'd say just treat it like any kind of hair, where you'd focus on like sections of hair, kind of like locks of hair, instead of like individual strands. So like find the places where it's like the most important kind of curls in the hair, whether that's like the bangs or how it curls over the ears or whatever, you know. That's my advice. Go hard and then pull back. Yeah, so Ink, let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. That's it, that's all. I'm gonna go.
Oh my god, did you see the Halloween Pikmin got announced?
I know.
The little candy ones.
The
so
candy
cute.
ones are so cute. I love Pikmin Bloom, it's so good.
I'm so glad they came out with those.
10 out of 10. Alright, well.
Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks for coming. Make sure to sign up for Patreon if you are interested in having your stuff critiqued. Mwah! Love you all.